Hello from Jerusalem and welcome to Watchmen Talk, a series of conversations with Israeli security, military, and intelligence practitioners and experts. Our guest today, as was most recently, is retired Commissioner General and Major General Shachar Ayalon, a veteran of the Israeli YAMAM elite anti-terrorist squad of the National Police and other organizations having to do with law enforcement and homeland security. Welcome again, Shachar.
Thank you very much.
In our last conversation, we dealt with your career up until you left YAMAM and joined the broader police service. Now, one should explain to foreign audiences that in Israel, the police is a national organization. It is not a municipal one. It is not like the NYPD. It is more like the FBI. But because Israel is not a federal system, it handles everything. And when you decided that you are making your career with the police in the early 1980s, what did you see ahead as your career goals?
Well, Israel police is based on the British police, and I will say even the Turkish police. And a lot of habits, uniforms, and way of thinking came from the British tradition. The Israel police is a national police, and the structure was laying on the district of the jurisdiction and district of the British police.
So district commissioners or district commanders were, in effect, stronger than the national staff, the national headquarters of the police.
Yes, because the British gave their regional and districts commanders a lot of abilities, and they gave them the power to decide at a lot of way of thinking, a lot of ability to decide about the life of the population there, and they had the power, and it was an important position to be a district commander or even a station police commander. So in my, let's say, I was eager to be a commander of a police station, and I will surprise you, I was dreaming to be the commander of the most southern station in Israel, which we call Eilat station, which lays, or let's say, stays by the Red Sea in the most southern point of Israel. So
and you made it eventually.
And after, let's say, approximately 10 years, I was there, and it was like a feeling of a sheriff because it's a border city. In the most far city in Israel from the center, from Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, and it's a desert area.
Hundreds of kilometers from the nearest town.
Nearest town, and this is the most city with sometimes called there the Wild West. And it was really an experience there to be there.
So this was your ambition, and as you mentioned, the British mandate. Of course, the British police ruled over day-to-day life in Israel from 1918 to 1948, and the tradition stayed when the Israeli police was founded. But we are now talking 30 or more years after that, and this was still the habit of the old police officers?
That's right. The British has a very long policing tradition, and they had the mounted police with horses. And we still have these horses in the same tradition of...
Not the same horses?
Not the same horses, I hope. Usually a horse can live 17, 18 years, but still there is a mounted police in Israel. the forensic laboratories.
One should know that you used to own, maybe still do, horses, and
That's
and
right.
you love to ride.
That's right. And there was a very good investigation units. They were very efficient. They were very, everything was in order. A lot of order and discipline elements in the police. And in this time, when I recruit to the police, what we call the blue police, and it's not the green police. The green police is the border police.
It has to do with the uniforms.
Yes, with the uniforms, the color of the uniforms. And it was very strict, very in order. Everything was written.
More military than the military in Israel.
That's right.
Now, there are three basic functions for the police in Israel. Security, which we mentioned regarding YAMAM and other operations. You have law and order in its basic form, crowd control,
crime.
and you have the anti-corruption or other investigations.
Domestic defense, and of course the traffic. The traffic is one.
You chose the regular route of, as you say, advancing from a patrol officer to commanding a station and then up to a district and hopefully Commissioner General. What was your experience? First, you served, in addition to Eilat, in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem, and we will get to the Temple Mount riots of 1990, where you distinguished yourself and you won a medal for that. But regularly, if you have your police job in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, what were the problems?
First of all, when I tried to join and to come from the YAMAM, from the special unit, to the what we call the regular police, most of the highly ranked officers in the blue police, in the regular police, were with a British tradition, and they said to me, "Okay, young boy, we have a lot of experience. Our career is going very slow. First of all, if you want to be a real policeman, go to 1 year to study in the academy of the police." So I said, "But I have already an officer ranks. Just give me a seminar or something." 1 year, of course. They said, "If you want to be a real police officer, you have to go there and to study all the method, all."
As if you're a very fresh recruit.
Yes. I said to myself, "Okay, I have to decide." And it was not let's say, I was not happy. I felt that they give me the long road, but it was very helpful on the days later.
And later you stayed there as an instructor.
Yes.
You came back as an instructor.
In a chief instructor there in this school. So I passed this officer course 1 year, and then I joined the basic police method, or the policing is the patrol in Tel Aviv, and then patrol in Jerusalem. So the patrol and operational was the basic, and it was very powerful and very experienced.
But even earlier, the Israeli police, because of technology, because of economy, moved from the patrolman on the beat, the most traditional system, to squad cars, which, if there is a problem, you can dispatch somewhere else. But you still think that police presence in the streets is very important.
Yes, the police presence on the street, if the policeman is a very talented police officer, because he can stand on the street and see nothing, hear nothing, and really regard from the people and get away from them. He can be corrupt on the street, but if it's a good police officer, the whole neighborhood will feel better. The old people, the young people, the schools, everything can be changed. So community policing, it's a method. If you do it right, it can help the community and give you a lot of intelligence, let's say, save the patrol cars a lot of work, save the investigator a lot of work, if you do it good. If you just someone there, like a rock that is standing in the corner, it won't help. One of the police that use these points very, very talented and very good is the Japanese police. They are putting there in the corners. Every corner has this point, and they're doing a very good job.
It's an address for the community and deterrence to people who come outside of the community and perhaps want to break into a house or commit another crime.
They can really know every face on the community. They patrol sometimes on bicycle. And when someone is coming, a burglar, a robber, or someone else, and he immediately know that this one is not from the neighborhood, and you have to ask him about his presence is there.
We know it from the opposite experience that sometimes our Israeli Mossad operations were uncovered by the police, not by some sophisticated counterintelligence unit, but because the policemen saw that there is an irregularity, something which does not happen every day, and it raised the suspicion.
The detectives, the patrol, the police is the first, let's say, scout in the area, and they see marks of something that is strange, a footprint that is not a regular footprint, and these are the people that exposed.
But later on, when you rose to become a more senior officer, you thought that there is a heavier layer of middle management in the police which one can do without, that you can have supervisors in direct control of police officers.
Yes, these supervisors and the abilities of these supervisors is first of all experience, their way of looking on the situation, and will give support to the people on the field. And this is very important layer, because this is the working layer, but give them it's like a mentors.
General Ayalon, could you please recount your experiences from two jobs? One was in the Temple Mount riots of 1990, and then some 10 years later, when you were in charge of the police district in the West Bank.
Okay, first of all, the tension between Christians, Muslims, and Jews in this close, I will say in Jerusalem, but not only in Jerusalem, in Nazareth, in Jerusalem, in the West Bank,
mixed cities,
and all the Middle East is a tension that goes for generations, thousands of years, and this is something that people believe, and really afraid that someone will hurt their belief, will take their position, and there is a lot of tension, very sensitive. In a minute, riots and disturbances can go up because of the sensitivity. It's very emotionally, and people really afraid what's going on. And behind the curtain, there is some interests, some people that are gaining a political gains or political issues.
From incitement.
From inside, yes. So you have to be or to react very fast to these actions, to riots. Because if you take or you react to a small one, it won't be a bigger one.
But there is no permanent police presence there. You have to go from outside, usually, don't you?
Usually you have to go from outside. But if you have intelligence, you have some information that something is going on, and sometimes you can smell it in the air that something is going on, there is a tension in the air, you better be inside before.
In uniform or is undercover in civilian clothes?
Usually in uniforms, because it's very difficult to be undercover there. The people are players and the people that know each other, and they even can hurt this detective. So it's better be on uniforms, and it's something that you say to the surrounders, to the surrounding. I'm here. Be careful. Don't raise their tension. Everybody stay in his point.
So what did you do to diffuse the situation, to extinguish the fire, if we are referring to your other job later? How do you go about it? Do you find leaders in the crowd you can talk to? Do you find the main inciters and take them out? What is the best practice?
First of all, you have to be in full contact and a long relationships with the leaders. Sometimes the leaders disappeared because they understand that there is going to be a disturbances and someone is taking the lead.
This in itself is an early warning. If you can't find the leader.
It's an early warning. You can find them, you can't reach them, but the phones, you can understand something happens. And I told her you can feel the tension in the air. You have to arrest the people that lead the riots, because the leaders are very important. And sometimes the leaders are not from the area, like coming outside, not even from the West Bank, but even from abroad. You have to arrest them. Second, they have to know that you have the force, the ability. Sometimes they can see it. So you have to establish special forces that knows all the exits, all the entrances, all they have the equipment to riots and to react in a special force with border patrol, with SWATs. So this is the second thing. And then you need some patience, because you don't want to count casualties in the event. So sometimes you need to spread.
On either side, you don't want casualties.
On either side, yes.
But what we found out, or perhaps re-found out, because it's an old lesson, later in 2000, in a problem you were not involved in, other officers were, in October of 2000, is that if you have too small a police force and it feels threatened, it shoots earlier than it would have been if it felt secure. But if they feel that they are under personal danger, that they are going to be overwhelmed by the crowd, there will be more casualties. So it is better to be reinforced before the event than when it is too late.
This is one of the principles all over the world in police. You have to use unlethal weapons because you are police. You have to protect the people, although they have riots. And the practice is to use unlethal weapons. But if you are in danger and you are in a panic, the police force is in a panic, they go to a live ammunition. And a live ammunition caused casualties. And the casualties even sometimes tragic. And these casualties makes the problem even more political issue, more tragic, sorrow, and
you have funerals, escalation.
It can have to escalation. Funerals can give you a lot of sorrow, but two sides. And as you said, it's better for you to be prepared with a large force than to be trapped in the crowd with a small crew that will be using live ammunition
to shoot itself. It's to defense
to rescue itself.
Now, when you were in charge of the West Bank from the police side, even though the military had jurisdiction, had sovereignty under international law, you also had a task of dismantling Jewish settlements. What was the special problem there?
Most of the Jewish settlements that settlers are living in cities or large villages and settlers. Some of them are living in the edge, and they have some arguments.
So-called wild outposts.
Wild outposts that are not in the official maps. They try to gain more land, more control on the area, and there has a very close range with the Arabs, with the Arab or villages around. And in this point, there is a lot of risk, and because they want to say to the surroundings, don't come close to us, we have ammunition here, we have weapons there, we are very violent to one who's trying to rescue us. They are a risk for the area and for the law enforcement and for the law.
So your political authorities, it was not your decision, but the government, through the Ministry of Defense, ordered the police to take down some of these outposts, and you had to lead your men in doing so.
Yes, sometimes it's come even to the court. And the court said, in a warrant, you have to evacuate these settlers. It's let's say, legal settlements. It was not authorized. And we, as a Supreme Court even, said to the army, and you are the long hand of the army to evacuate them from most of the time it's on the hill. So it begins to be a real situation. They have supporters coming all over Israel, all over the West Bank. And the police, as you understand, can see this enforcement, begin to enforce their code. So sometimes hundreds of police officers and hundreds of supporters and settlers begin a quarrel.
A cat and mouse game.
Yes, on the hill. Who is going to be the king of the hill? And I explained to these settlers, I'm always, as a police officer, will be the king of the hill in the end of the day. And they said to me, why? I said, because you are the symbol for the whole surrounding, the whole the Middle East, that always the police have to be the one who win on this hill because it's unlegal settlers. So they understood, although they're going to be always a very long and even violent fight on the hill, the police has to be in the end, and the army, and the local authorities, the civil authorities of the government, will be there on the hill in the end of the fight.
But you, at that time, you were already a major general. This was your first of some 4 or 5 positions in this rank. And you knew that further advancement to a lieutenant general and commissioner general of the police will be dependent on the whims or agendas of the politicians. Was that a consideration? And the politicians were sometimes more in line with the settlers than with the police they sent to evacuate the settlers. Was that a consideration, if not for you, for some other people in the police?
Well, the settlers always went to the political right wings. Some of them were my ministers, and my promotion was depend on these ministers, and complained on me. And they said he had too much violence, he had too many tricks on the hills and things like that. I must say that the minister had no choice. They had to support me because it was a court, it was a governmental decision. So I was not in the middle of the hammer. They were. And they have to say to the settlers, yes, we'll deal with that. And to me, they said, go on.
So you went from the West Bank to lead the National Traffic Police, and then the Tel Aviv district. You had 1 month in the Northern district, but you were appointed Deputy Commissioner General of the Police. And eventually you retired and was appointed as a Lieutenant General of the Fire and Rescue service. This was after a tragedy in which 44 Israelis were killed in the
Carmel Mount.
In December of the year 2010. What is the lesson from Israel's inability to prepare for such fires? There are not too many or too frequent such tragic fires, but when one hits Israel, the price is enormous.
Well, first of all, for all of us, as government, as a national organization, and even the private family, don't mess with the nature. The nature is stronger than any human force. So if the nature is getting crazy, you have to evacuate the area. Don't try to fight such a huge
Force of nature.
Evacuate the area. Second is the firefighters in Israel were divided into 24 services, and we established a national force that can enforce their abilities and move the trucks, move the firefighters from place to place. Third, we establish an aerial abilities for fighting fire in the woods, in the bush.
Early warning, and then also fighting
with aircrafts, with aerial abilities, and communications. Lack of communications, radio communications, and abilities that.
Let me add also water lines. General Ayalon, our time is too short for a career as long as and illustrious as yours. So thank you very much for your service and the two conversations we had. General Shachar Ayalon, thank you. We will probably meet again.
Thank you very much.